Hi, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to Modular Housing for Affordable Housing at the LinkedIn Live with Proactive Realty Fund and Proactive Social Impact Funds with Dr. Canaan Van Williams. Dr. Van Williams, would you like to introduce yourself? And we'll get started here.
Yes, hi, my name is Dr. Canaan Van Williams of the Proactive Realty Income Funds, and we are social impact, affordable housing, and workforce housing, and housing for lower income, second chance housing, and we aim to provide as much social impact as humanly possible while keeping prices affordable and low, and providing a decent product to those in need of affordable housing.
Thank you, Dr. Van Williams. So we'll jump right into the questions. Um, what is a manufactured home and how does it differ from traditional construction methods?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question. So, manufactured home is built in a factory setting, and is then transported to the site um, where it's placed on a pad, whether it be a dirt pad, a cement pad, um, and it comes in one or two sections. A single section is referred to as a single wide manufactured home. A double section is a double wide manufactured home. And also, there's a new product that just came to market in the last couple of years that is a duplex. So they have a tiny home duplex, which is two units in a single section, two separate units. So, and think of it as a studio SRO, which we'll be using for our SRO portfolio in different areas.
Right, great. Um, So the next question I have for you is how does manufactured or factory built housing reduce construction costs as compared to traditional on-site construction?
Manufactured construction reduces costs in several ways. Reduce labor costs due to factory efficiencies, bulk purchasing of materials, which lower material costs, minimize waste due to controlled manufacturing processes, fewer weather-related delays, as much of the construction occurs indoors. And then most factories, like I've toured no less than about 30 factories in the last few years. Most factories have an area where the homes go before they're finished. Inside the particular plant or warehouse, it's staged in that area, and then when weather permits, it's taken outside. Finishing touches put on it, whether it be paint. Uh, no, painting is done inside the factory in most places. There's a few touches that occur outside, and even in areas where there may be bad weather, like rain or something of that nature, they have like a overhead type shed on the outside of the manufacturing plant. Most facilities do that will allow you to take it out even if it's raining and finish whatever work needs to be done.
So how does manufactured construction accelerate project timelines?
Oh, wow. Another good question. Well, project timelines are accelerated because site preparation, uh, and the manufacturing process occurs simultaneously. In traditional construction, these steps happen sequentially. This parallel processing results in significantly faster completion times. Referring to my notes, because I did a lot of prep for this meeting. Um, Also, it accelerates project timelines in placing people in housing. Often, when we have a manufactured home park to place homes in, we have a waiting list. These homes are often gone. At least 80 to 85% of the time, they're spoken for before they even arrive. People sign up on a waiting list. They'll make a refundable deposit. Renters will, and that's very important. So we're able to get homes up uh, pretty rapidly. Simultaneous means that if we put an order into the factory, then in our park, we can make sure that all of our infrastructure is in place. So say it takes the factory 4 weeks to get a house to us. To build a house and get it to 4 weeks from start to finish, to trucking the home in to our particular park that we're working on, about 4 weeks compared to say several months when doing a site built home completion or any affordable housing renovations.
So in what ways does manufactured housing promote energy efficiency and reduce carbon emissions?
Okay, through reduced energy usage during construction, better insulation, better efficiency of factory built homes, reduce waste, and a potential for incorporating renewable energy technologies. So, for example, there are now a lot of homes that have solar shingles, if you can believe that really assists the end user with utility bills. And real quick, Mr. Bill, I see that Mr. Nicely, Chris Nicely, just joined. If you're able to speak at all, Mr. Chris, feel free to. He's one of my mentors.
Well, thank you for that, Dr. Van. Yeah, I saw you were making a presentation. If this is a private conversation, I'd be happy to back out, but I thought the topic was interesting.
Yes, so I hope you and Miss Shonda are doing all right, your wife.
We're doing great.
Absolutely feel free to join in. So Chris Nicely, he can give you his own introduction. He's president of manufacturedhomes.com, and he has done so much work around affordable housing. He's my go-to person if I have any questions. And I haven't mentioned this previously just because I didn't think it was, a whole lot relevant. I'm one of the few Black individuals in the entire industry with a retail license to bring in to sell manufactured housing, and the only Black individual in the state of South Carolina with a retail license.
That's exactly right. We're proud of that.
Thank you.
What you're doing.
Would you like to say something?
Yeah, if it's okay with you.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Chris Nicely. I've been in factory built housing for 30 years and spent half that time with Clayton Homes as their VP of marketing and business development. At one point was the general manager of their communities group, which at that time we had 80 communities, 22,000 home sites, and we were selling new homes. We were selling about 100 new homes a month. And so from that experience, Dr. Van and I have become friends over the years, and I've shared what information I have and perceptions that I have, and he hasn't believed one of them and done his own thing and done it really, really well. So I'm proud to be associated with Dr. Van and his efforts.
Yes, sir. And Mr. Chris Nicely is also on our board at Proactive Realty Income Fund.
Yep.
Okay, great to meet you, Mr. Nicely. So I'll move on to the second question, and now we have a couple of people who can potentially answer these questions. So let's talk about worker safety. What safety benefits do workers gain from constructing buildings in a climate-controlled facility?
Yes, so workers benefit from improved conditions such as protection from weather, enhanced safety protocols by the government, state, and local officials, ordinances. Think of OSHA compliance, as well as safety regulations, regulations through HUD, reduce risks of accidents compared to on-site construction. And if there's anything that I missed or you'd like to add, Mr. Chris, you just go ahead.
Well, it's interesting too. The industry is constantly innovating on the production floor. So they're bringing work up to the worker level. So there's fewer injuries associated with back strain and other things. Material handling, they're doing more, using more robotics and automation associated with moving materials in place to then be incorporated into the house. The roofers have tethers on them. All the equipment have tethers on them, so you're not going to drop a drill or a nailer and hit somebody on the head. Those type of things. And then of course 40 hours a week, guaranteed employment, full set of benefits. Those are all the things that Dr. Van was talking about. And from a that's not as much from a safety standpoint as it is from a worker security standpoint. And so that's exciting. But the whole material handling, construction process, and making a manufacturer doesn't want to have somebody have a back strain and be out for a week. So they are rapidly adopting robotics, material handling techniques, and elevating work up to the worker's level in order to reduce the potential for strain and injury.
Okay. And real quick, I'd like to interject if it's okay, Mr. Bill. One important point, I know we'll hit on this at some point, but while we have Mr. Chris that he can expound on, is the number of jobs that one manufactured home creates. One manufactured home in a factory creates can be upwards of 150 direct jobs and about 100 or more induced jobs as a result of that. Would you like to speak on that, Mr. Chris?
Yeah, a lot of high production manufacturers like Clayton, Cavco, Champion, they'll have a plant that has the capacity. I visited a Clayton plant a couple weeks ago, and their capacity was 900 homes a year. And
Wow.
with 900 homes a year, they employ directly close to 350 people in the plant. They're producing a home in about 6 to 8 working days, from the beginning of the production line to the end of the production line. And they're doing that. They will push out somewhere between 4 and 8 houses per day associated with that. And that's kind of what the stages in the line are. They'll have maybe 12 stations in a production line, and they'll move 6 of those and finish them, push them out of the house ready for inspection by a third-party inspector. And then those other 6 will be in the final stages of production finalization. And then the following day, those 6 will be pushed out. And that's dependent upon demand. That's at full demand, full capacity. Some of the plants right now are operating at half capacity and have slowed production in order to keep labor. And so that's also a good thing. So
yes. Thank you.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. I mean, that made me stop and say, wow, that is incredible. The number of homes that you could put out, the number of jobs that are actually produced. And I think this is an interesting question that's going to go right along with that. And that's, how does the controlled environment of a factory setting enhance the quality control of these modular or manufactured buildings?
I'll go first. The controlled factory environment allows for stringent quality control measures, including standardized procedures, regular inspections, consistent quality of materials and workmanship. Testing, I'll give you a quick example. I had a manufacturer in 2021. Unfortunately, their labor force wasn't up to par. And, we got a few homes in that had a few quirks. They quickly addressed that, went down to the factory myself, walked the factory, walked the new homes, walked the process, spoke to the new plant manager, got to meet a lot of the new production line staff that were, the factory workers, supervisors, and learned quite a bit more about quality control and how that's implemented and the importance of it. And Mr. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I think the quality standards are affiliated with the end product that is being ordered from multi-unit workforce housing. And I'm in Texas, so there's a lot of need for oil well housing, temporary housing for workers. The production of that product could be faster. They might be building that product in 4 or 5 days versus 6 or 8 the other way. And it's for temporary housing, not home ownership. And then as you progress up the spectrum towards higher quality, better built, stronger homes, like the ones you see behind me, it becomes the production becomes a little bit slower. It utilizes name brand components, and then it also has not only an internal inspection. So throughout the process, one production station passes it off to the next production station, and that next production station inspects the home and decides whether they'll accept it or send it back to the prior station. And if they find something they don't like, or they're going to have to repair, once they accept that, then anything they find, they have to repair at that station. And so they're very particular on building it right, building it to the engineered drawings, and then getting it ready to proceed to the next step. And ultimately, at the end of the process, internally, they have inspection. And Dr. Van, you see this when you go into the plant, that final station, they have in-house inspectors going up and tagging areas that need help, nail pops, molding that's not together, a door on a cabinet that's not straight, or things like that. And they'll put a little piece of blue tape on it. So there's a piece of blue tape all over this. That's then corrected and repaired. And then it's handed off to a independent third-party inspector hired by HUD to evaluate, has this house been built to the HUD code? Is everything proper? And if it is, only then does the house get certified. And it gives a little red tag on it saying this house has been inspected and approved and has been built to the HUD code. And then the final test, I guess if you want to think about it, is wind air test, wind load and all that kind of stuff, because they haul the houses down the freeway, bumpy freeway, a lot of vibration. Plus, they haul them at 60 miles an hour, so you got at least a 60 mile an hour wind test. So it has to, and regardless, when the house arrives on site, you will always have something that either got shaken loose, a crack appears, nail pops, whatever, maybe even shingles that may have blown off, although that's very rare. And sometimes the delivery people scrape a tree. In other words, a tree branch comes and scrapes some of the siding, or that has to be repaired. So part of this is understanding what product you're buying. The second part is the manufacturer partner that you select, and then the team that will bring the house to your site and install it and set it. And there will still, after a year, and there's a year warranty on the house, after a year, you're going to have some issues of settling and things like that. So for me, one of the critical parts of this is selecting the right partner. And if there are, quite frankly, there are people, there are companies in this industry, in the factory built housing industry, that are giving an impression they're bigger than what they are, giving an impression they know what they're doing when they don't, and they just quality is just such a secondary priority for them, that picking that right partner, picking that manufacturer, and the on-site labor is really important. So that's why you want to make sure you're looking at product that they've built prior to this, tour the factory if you have the opportunity, talk to the people about the quality priorities and how they ensure quality and what they do to follow up on quality issues, regardless of whose fault it is. So the selection of your your housing partner is a critical part of this. Sorry, Dr. Van,
No, absolutely no.
You push my on button, so I just,
Yeah.
it's one of those chatty Cathy kind of moments. So I apologize.
No apologies needed. And real quick, we're kind of pivoting just a little bit, Mr. Bill. So, Mr. Chris, tell us about when you went to Washington. He displayed manufactured housing to really emphasize the affordability factor of it. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's interesting. It used to be every other year or every third year. Now it's become an annual type of event on the National Mall in front of the Capitol building. And it's demonstrating, well, let me just take a half step back. Stigma and stereotype is still so prevalent by people that aren't in the industry or people that are not looking closely at the product. And the old memories of trailer parks and mobile homes still override what the reality of the product is today. So this demonstration of innovation in housing on the National Mall tries to break down those stigma and stereotypes with people that are in a position to influence legislation, allowing this product, like the one product behind me, into neighborhoods, into municipalities, and those type of things. So there are a combination of modular homes built to the IRC code and HUD code homes by manufacturers in the manufactured housing industry that are erected in 7 days and not torn down, but removed in about 2 days. And it's a demonstration of the kind of quality with features that factory built housing can offer. And with the prices that are posted on these homes, and that's always a question by legislators, is how much would this home be? How much would this home be? And the demonstration is everything from an ADU, 400 square feet, all the way up to a 3,000 square foot home. So it's a very interesting demonstration of the product and the process and the short amount of time that even the developer has to tie up capital, because once it arrives on site, literally, if you're working with a great contractor, 45 to 60 days, and that house is finished, ready to sell, ready to occupy and move in. So your cost of capital as a developer is less than it would be with site build as well. That takes 4 to 6 months or more. So, but the National Mall demonstration allows the legislators to come tour the product, listen to subject matter experts, and it's been very effective in overcoming some of those stereotypes.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely great answer. As we come to the close here, would you all like to make a final statement? Although Mr. Nicely, I have to say you've really hit on some interesting points. We would absolutely love to have you back to get even into more detail about this, if that would be something you'd be interested in, because this has been fabulous. So if you guys would like to close out now, that would be great.
Okay, couple quick things I'd like to hit on really quick. So we've talked about some government initiatives, as Mr. Nicely was talking about. Two items, Mr. Chris. Financing and payment challenges for a lot of end users. And I'll just speak on the park side. Proactive does a lot of rental homes in the manufactured housing space. We're able to provide them at affordable rates because of the retail license that the company uses. And additionally, if we sell a home in our park, keeping with affordability, with social impact, we work with companies like Zippy Mobile Manufactured Housing. They do loans, Park Lane Financial, and there are others who do loans that allow you only to mark the house up 10% above your costs so that it remains affordable. So financing, Mr. Chris, and then and after that, if you could hit on sustainability.
Yeah, financing. This industry has been dominated by niche lenders for decades. And that's because the traditional mortgage lenders really didn't want to have anything to do with manufactured housing that were titled as personal property, much like an RV or a car or a motorcycle, those type of things. As the product got better, local banks started to take an interest in it and would take on local responsibility of lending on housing in general for everybody, both chattel, which is home only in a park situation, for example, or a land home deal, which is a traditional construction type lending program. This started to change about 2016, 2017 with Fannie and Freddie under the duty to serve. They were commanded to do this by Congress, is say you must look at affordable housing and manufactured housing in particular to understand the product and develop programs that would support manufactured housing as a part of the housing initiative in our country. And so Freddie and Fannie, and I worked with both Freddie and Fannie, developed programs associated with elevating manufactured housing to be received on the same basis as site-built housing. The houses behind me are a house design called Cross Mod, and this features a higher pitched roof, a lower set to the grade, and that came as a result of a survey of people saying, I don't want to buy a manufactured home. And they would be asked why. Well, I don't like the roof pitch. I don't like the fact that it sits 30 inches off the ground with a plastic surround on the foundation. You know, all of those things prompted this product called Cross Mod, and Freddie and Fannie both developed programs very similar to traditional mortgages, 30-year term, competitive rates, and but required they have a higher pitched roof, lower set, front porch, and even a garage or carport somewhere on the same property. So that started to push the industry in a direction that they would not have necessarily gone in on their own, but because and today it's even more and more. I'm working in Jackson, Mississippi, and Detroit, and Shreveport. Have worked in Tampa and New Orleans and Phoenix and all kinds of San Bernardino in accepting these houses into infill development. And in Arizona, the park business, the community business, have been enhanced by bringing these homes into a community, and it allows that community owner-operator, the ability to raise rents on new move-ins. It allows the perception of the community to be higher, and it reinforces the pride of the existing residents plus new residents, upgrading of amenities and those type of things. So the product is changing. The old perceptions are not correct, and the two things, and I'm going to add one thing, and then I'll stop talking. But the two things that concern people that don't know anything about manufactured factory-built housing is appreciation and longevity. And the Urban Institute and FHFA reported the results, did a study on appreciation over the last 20 years, and it demonstrated through their sampling manufactured housing appreciated at a very similar rate as site built. So the myth that manufactured housing is like cars, and they would depreciate the moment you take them off the lot is absolutely incorrect. Manufactured housing, whether they're sited in a community or on private land, they will appreciate, and we see that every day when someone goes to sell a manufactured home in the community or a manufactured home on their own site. So we see the appreciation is real. It's reported by Urban Institute. It happens. And FHA has kind of given its certified seal of approval saying, yeah, this is what it is. So the appreciation side of it is really important. Now, longevity, the other haunting perception is these houses don't last as long as a site-built home. Well, that in fact is incorrect as well. Number one, because as you drive to work, if you're in a semi-rural or an area where older manufactured homes were or are, you can see many homes that are well over 50. In fact, the University of Georgia did a separate study on the longevity. How long would you expect a manufactured home to last? And it's well over 53 years. That was their number. 53 years it's expected to last. And it's very similar to a site-built home. And with the new innovative design and manufacturing and building, like the homes behind me, they're using same standard materials as a site builder. 2x4s or 2x4, 8-foot long wood is 8-foot long wood. The nice thing about manufactured housing, factory built housing in general, because it's engineered and because the materials are bought or purchased from the source, those materials can be cut, for example, lumber, cut to size, and the waste associated with building a home in a manufactured housing plant is extremely less than what it would be on site. So from a carbon footprint, which is important to younger buyers today and should be important to all of us, but carbon footprint of factory built housing is significantly lower than site built homes. So again, I've run on a little bit too long, but you push my on button, so I get excited about this stuff.
No problem there. So real quick, sustainability. So I'll just say this. So as far as it relates to sustainability, manufactured housing contributes to building more resilience and sustainable housing because just what you said, it's efficient building, reduces waste, often features much better energy performance. Yeah. Items can be tweaked a lot quicker than they can in a site-built home. Things don't go wrong nearly 1 in 10 compared to a site-built home for manufactured housing. Do you have a quick case study? I've already shared our UMH case study, and I've shared our Rancho Affordable Living, the part that I did in Vegas I was telling you about when we were at the Manufactured Housing Convention, MHI, in Nevada.
Yeah. On a community kind of situation?
Yes.
Geez, there's so many. And for the first time in a couple decades, we're starting to see greenfield construction from the ground up. So that's new in the last 5 to 7 years. Seeing greenfield, a lot of them is what Dr. Van's been doing, is saving communities and revitalizing those communities. But we're starting to see ground up construction of multi-hundreds. Great example is the UMH properties down. No, I think it's.
Is it Inspire or?
No, it's not Inspire. It's the anyway. Down in Austin, Texas. Austin had zoned out manufactured housing for the entire city, for the entire county. There were no manufacturers allowed in that county where Austin, Texas is. And then Amazon and other large distributing companies came into Austin. And during their discussions, they're saying, okay, so where are our workers going to live? And Austin had to kind of put their tail between their legs and say, well, they're going to live in the next county. Well, how long a drive is that? Well, it could be, 45 minutes to an hour. And they said, well, that's not going to work. We're not going to locate our factory here if we can't have people here. So Roberts Communities is the one down in Austin.
Sure is.
So finally, the city said, okay, time out. We're going to join forces with the community developer, and we're going to put in several hundred home sites in these communities near your plant on the east side of Austin. And that's exactly what happened. And Roberts Communities, which is a very well-known large operator of communities, came in, developed these, and with amenities, with curb streets, with underground
utilities.
Utilities, thank you. And so it started to change the perception of what manufactured housing, especially manufactured housing communities, were capable of providing, and the necessity for the manufactured home communities for workforce housing. So that's one that comes to mind immediately with Robert's communities.
Okay. In closing, just real quick, it's such a great conversation. I know we all have to jump to the next thing. Been a busy Monday. I'm on the West Coast, and
Yep.
I start my mornings at 5 a.m. On the Eastern time. What I wanted to say was, Mr. Chris, real quick, the importance of how the tiny homes, especially products like the 400 square foot 2-bedroom, or the tiny home, or the duplex that they now have out. That's a studio on each side. Just hit real quickly on the importance of that and how it can help the homeless, the people who are transitioning out of homelessness.
Yeah, the tiny home, and I'm doing some work with Los Angeles, about the homelessness and providing housing out there for LA County. It is the perfect product,
Yes,
for housing transitional families from homelessness into home ownership, training, assistance from drug addiction and other issues that they're battling, PTSD, other things that homelessness seems to be rooted with. So a lot of cities are looking towards ADUs or tiny homes, starting at 100 square feet, and putting a small kitchenette and a bathroom in 100 square feet, just so they can have some type of protection and security in their sleeping environment. And this goes all the way up to 400 square foot home for homelessness, and even more when they transition and they're in that transition process and they have a family. 1-bedroom studio is not going to work, so there has to be a 1 or 2 bedroom type thing. That takes it up to 600, 800 square feet with 2 bedrooms, and the tiny home ADU is really critical. The important part, the extremely important part, is understanding the code that home is being built to, and the restrictions associated with that code. If it's built to the ANSI code, which many of the tiny homes under 400 square feet are built to, that's an RV code. That's not meant for habitation for greater than 29 days at a time. So be aware of that. There's no regulation on how it's anchored to the ground. Be aware of that. It's a movable, temporary housing answer. Then when you move up, more and more houses and more municipalities are approving homes at 400 square feet and beyond, 800, 900 square feet, built to the IRC or HUD code, which have restrictions and guidance and requirements associated with being tied to the ground. They're much more temporary, not as much, but they can still serve that transitional function of taking people, protecting people, addressing any issues they may have, and going beyond that. So the tiny homes, and it in cities where density is not an issue, like in Detroit, it's allowing areas of the city to provide quality housing in a more densely populated type of fashion. Easier to control, easier to police, easier to tax, easier to provide services to. All of those things are associated with tiny home, what's being called pocket neighborhoods, and that type of thing. So the tiny home is here. It's here to stay. I don't know who we are, but we need to make sure it's built to the right standards for I'm going to say permanent, but long-term human occupation. So let's not make sheds and ghettos and things like that. we can go to the mayor and say, hey, yeah, we're protecting our people, when in fact we're not doing any of that. So it's a critical understanding of that whole issue and understanding what the product can deliver. So
well, I mean, expertly put, Mr. Nicely. And the part that really resonates, well, all of it, is what you just said at the end, the intention. It's so important in this industry, the intention. What is your intention? So like we just commissioned from Morningstar Sustainalytics, and I'll share a copy with you, Mr. Chris. We have a social impact report, the same report that UMH used. So the property they bought from us August of 2022, that's the basis of their Opportunity Zone Fund. And they had a social impacts report commission April 2023. We followed suit because we still own homes in their community. And so Proactive has an impact second party opinion and also sustainable bond report from UMH. The intention, I cannot overemphasize, as you stated, the intention. Here in Las Vegas, you were talking about, and I'll make it as brief as I can. I tend to ramble on also. So here in Las Vegas, I've seen so many, and you've seen this, Mr. Nicely, so many quote unquote trailers. And I'm talking about, pre 1970. When did the HUD code come out, Mr. Chris?
June 15th, 1976.
So the HUD code. So prior to that, there's a lot of homes that are much older from the 50s that are still in service, that are being used. However, you have some landlords that are charging astronomical sums of rent and space rent. They're making residents pay water, garbage, sewer, park lighting, all of these extras that we just don't bake into our rent price, and we keep prices low with brand new manufactured homes. So the intention is very important, that you don't have people who are trying to get rich quick or trying to come in and flip houses and parks and sell them at a jacked up rate or something that would displace a family. And that's my closing remark. I'm so happy you hit on that, just the intention. What is the person's intention? Are you creating a safe environment? Are you creating something that is sustainable? Are you creating something that is meets the highest social impact standards? And are you willing to be accountable and have those standards measured in your social impact measure, which I think is very important. Mr. Bill?
Great. Thank you. Wow, this was very enlightening for me. I am so glad to meet you, Mr. Nicely.
My pleasure.
Again, we would love to absolutely have you on. I'd like to thank everybody who came. And we're going to close this out with our LinkedIn Live for Proactive Social Impact Funds.
Awesome. Thank you very much.